This episode of Nuff Said is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
In this world, there are heroes and there are devils. But in the kitchen of hell, the hero is the devil. So stay close to the devil you know. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Devil You Know podcast. I am your host, Charlie the Professor Esser. And with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
That's right, Mozz. Thank you for joining me once again for getting up to the end here. Season 3, Episode 11, Reunion. Dex tries to run his prey to ground. Nadine's conscience kicks in, and Fisk's looks to recover a gift from Vanessa, seized during his incarceration. Our director this week is, of course, Jet Wilkinson. Stan Lee and Bill Everett, of course, getting that great Marvel Comics created by credit. Drew Goddard came up with the idea of the series, so he gets that created by credit. Jim Dunn and Dara Resnick gets our written by. Tanya Kong still working hard as our story editor. And then, most unsung lady in show business, our staff writer, uncredited, is Sarah Stracher. Sarah, this one's for you. Yeah, she works so hard, and I just want her to get that right. Oh man, this episode. So we're back. We're back up in our modern times now. No longer in the flashback, and man, this is.
I guess this was kind of like our anti-buddy cop episode with Nadim and Dex.
Yeah, very much it is. That is a great view of it. Although I guess in its own way, it's kind of like that classic buddy cop motif of, one's a buy the book and the other one's kind of a
yeah.
But in this case,
one's
it's like
completely lost his marbles.
Yeah, Dex has lost his marbles. Dex is like totally without marbles at this point. And throughout this episode, it is really about Nadim basically realizing, man, I am like surrounded by, and I think for everyone else basically says that, I do not think you were, I don't think you're an asset to the team. Kingpin may think you are an asset to the team, Dex. No one else thinks that. Yes, you kill people very well. No one's saying you can't kill people. But I don't know if you're cut out for this whole double life quality that everyone who is in the criminal conspiracy pretty much has to deal with.
Right. It would be nice. It would have been nice of Kingpin to set him up in some sort of a way, because obviously I don't think he has the tactical improvisational skills that somebody in a leadership role needs to have. He's simply like a pit bull. You just need to point him and let him go. That's the role he should be serving. He shouldn't be in charge of strategically locating somebody. He should just be in charge of the killing.
Although I do love, speaking of pit bulls, the fact that and apologies to all of our pit bull fans out there. When they bring in the dogs in this episode, and like the dogs immediately start growling at Dex, The dogs know. Oh wait, we're supposed to find the murderer. Well, that's you, right?
Yeah.
You guys know that? That's the murderer? No. He's like, oh hey guys, hey buddies, I'm on your side. And like, first I think a real dog handler would like, why is my dog growling at you?
Right.
It's like.
Right.
Although then again, maybe not. I do remember once I was walking by, and I was walking in Penn Station, and like I was walking by a K9 unit, and the K9 unit was in the back of the car, and as I walked by, the dog was just going nuts at me. And I'm like, and I actually stopped because the dog was going nuts because I was waiting for the cop to come out and like search me. I was like, hey, I got nothing to hide. I'm just walking to the train. But the cop was like, it's like, really? I mean, the dog's going nuts. I don't know. I'm not a terrorist, but maybe want to ask me if
I'd like to believe that if the dog is barking at somebody else, you would stop him.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's not like I'm not for nothing. I am a unsavory character, generally speaking, when I'm walking in public because my clothes are disheveled, especially because I don't if my sleeves are all torn, but if the coat still keeps me warm, I keep it. So I look fairly
Mm.
homeless most days.
It's the hobo life for me.
Yeah, well, isn't it? Isn't that just the life we all dream about? So even though we don't actually want to endure it.
No.
Who plays Kingpin?
That is Vincent D'Onofrio. Okay, moving right along. But yeah, I love that scene because it does show, again, in kind of a classic fairy tale superhero kind of thing about how the dogs know things deeper than humans are willing to see.
Yeah. See, at this point, it's like that dog collar from the movie Up would be so handy.
Without a doubt,
Yeah.
it is interesting how that all plays out. But and not for nothing, we don't know necessarily why the dogs are growling at him, because there's no necessarily reason for the dogs to growl at him except that they have a bad feeling about this guy because he.
Right. I was thinking maybe they like sniffed something from the scene already, and they were I don't know, but yeah, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, it is entirely possible that yes, they did sniff something from the scene and they know, oh, this is the guy. That's the guy who
Right.
that's the guy who threw the baton that killed the priest.
Yeah.
And that might have very well been it. And I did like this is a nice episode because it is very boxy. I do like a
Hmm.
boxy episode where there is a lot of talking and a lot of strategy going on.
Yeah, I like when all that talking is actually goal oriented or like it's moving stuff forward, and this episode was that.
Well, exactly, yes. I mean, you have, and I love Sister Maggie in this
Mm-hmm.
because, of course, she comes in and like in 5 minutes she's got everyone pegged, and she knows
Mm-hmm.
very well that Dex is the villain, and Nadim is a guy who maybe doesn't want to be the villain but is on the bad guy's side. And
Right.
and she makes this point like, well, no, I saw Daredevil leave. And then Dex,
Yeah.
and the thing is, like, there's nothing Dex can say there because, of course, since Dex was dressed as Daredevil, he had to leave, and so clearly someone could have seen him leave. No, I saw him come back in. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it is just so interesting. And of course, we get another quality of this. And again, this becomes, and essentially, it's neat that Dex wants to blame this on Nadim, but really it is the sloppiness of Dex.
Right.
Because when the detective comes in his rumpled raincoat,
Mm-hmm.
and he makes this point that you guys are, and he says to Nadim, you're saying that Karen Page is an associate of the Daredevil, but I've got like 4 eyewitnesses says the guy dressed as Daredevil was trying to kill Karen Page.
Yeah.
And I think this is part of why Nadim eventually has his face turn at the end. Because Nadim has been having his heel turn heel, but we all know that Nadim never really wanted to be a heel,
Right.
but he just doesn't know what else to do. And when he makes his face turn again, I think that this is because, not for nothing, he sees this is all going to come down because this is resting on Dex, and Dex is an idiot.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, oh my goodness, yeah, he totally got here, but it is definitely going to end poorly for everybody. This is, you want to be the rat that gets off this sinking ship.
Right. And Sister Mary's so good at like reading him and just saying, "Hey, there's still hope for you." It's like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? Maybe you're right."
Well, exactly. She asks him, are you a moral person? I love that. I love because it is such it's such a question that you can't just deflect because not for nothing you can have whatever moral system you want, and say you are a moral person, you know. But when,
Also,
yeah,
well, yeah, and I think it sort of cements what is acceptable as a response to further questioning.
hmm well, exactly, and that is, Sister Maggie's no slouch.
Ooh-wee.
That's what you can say about that. Sister Maggie is no slouch. She is reading all the situations. She is as much. Honestly, it's like, man, she makes this point in like 2 episodes ago about how the church has hidden people for 2,000 years, which hasn't always been the case, but we certainly like to say that. But you do get the feeling that like a Sister Maggie would have been very helpful in the French Resistance. It's like she seems to
Yes.
really be on her game, on her ball, knows exactly who all the players on the board are, and I love this scene. When they're negotiating everything, and they make this. They come to this realization. Oh, we actually do need to call Foggy.
Mm.
And Foggy comes in and he starts vamping with Nadine because he knows. It says no. I just need. It's like, why are you looking at her? It says because I need to see how long I have to stall you for, which I just love saying because it is literally like I am not going to use any guile on this situation. I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to let you know that yes, we are exactly stalling you, and obviously this only works if there's only a small amount of time to stall you with. But it's like
Mm.
coming out when
Right.
you know that it's like I just gotta stall you for like a couple of minutes, like a couple of seconds. Oh no, I'm stalling you. It's going to put someone so off their game that they're like, wait, what are you doing? It's like, well, I'm stalling you. You're stalling me? Yes, I'm stalling you for just let me
I
just
just
make.
need like 10 more
Yeah,
seconds.
exactly. And then we get to this thing where they, and again, this is an interesting aspect to me in the subject, in that because Foggy, as Karen Page's attorney, can surrender Karen Page to a law enforcement body, but does not necessarily have to pick which law enforcement body. So it doesn't matter that the FBI is looking for her, he can surrender her to the NYPD because that's what we have chosen. And since we're all on the same team, there's certainly no problem with Karen going with the NYPD, right? But of course, Fisk's power doesn't go that far. Fisk has honestly the idea that Fisk has gotten his case overturned. I don't know. I thought that was a little Deus Ex Machina. And
Yeah.
that Tower is not seeking to push the case further, again. But then again, I guess that just means, he has stuff to
Right.
do
It's like he's got complete control over the FBI, but the lowly NYPD, well, they're just,
Well,
they do the thing. They're untouchable,
what it is the NYPD is a lot more. It's a lot more. It's a lot more parts to control.
Hmm.
And the short answer with the NYPD is you can have a dozen cops on your payroll, but you can't have all the cops on your payroll because that's too expensive. Which sounds like it sounds funny, but it really is. That's the thing. It's like there are probably like 20 or 30 cops that would be Fisk's cops, but they don't. But Fisk can't necessarily control where they are or when they are.
Right.
And more to the point is it's too chaotic for him to control. Now, trying to take over the FBI, that certainly gives you that jurisdictional quality. But anyone who watches Law and Order knows that jurisdictions are always a pissing match. So,
Right.
the NYPD is, as the local jurisdiction, always has at least the ability, if not the right, to make the initial arrest. And so
Hmm.
when they take Karen into custody, that is right. And then of course the detective lets them all go. But again, it goes to this idea that it is to show that for all the power that Kingpin is showing now, he is surprisingly weak.
Hmm.
I was listening. I mean, not to get political here, but I was listening to this statement about how, for all the fear and worry about, a current notable politician, he is in fact quite
Hmm.
weak in his position because all of his power rests on the acquiescence of a small group of people who really don't necessarily require him as much as he thinks they require as much as he thinks they require him. So
Hmm.
it's like the kingpin in this moment thinks all these people need him, but the fact of the matter is, and not for nothing, once he gets his acquittal, every single thing he does is now suspect. But he wanted to be acquitted. He could have simply negotiated it out as a criminal, but to get acquitted. Now, well, why are we taking his word for it? He's been acquitted of this crime.
Right.
Any good lawyer can certainly tear that apart in court. It's like, oh, you took this acquitted man's word for it. He's no criminal. How would he know who a criminal was?
Hmm.
It is. It's
That's interesting.
yeah. Well, everything gets interesting when you actually start to unwrap it. But I do think that, and I do think this is a quality of what we're looking at with Wilson Fisk, where I think that he is still trying for something. Um, he is still trying for some kind of redemption. He wants to be seen as the man who he still wants to be seen as the hero of Hell's Kitchen. And
But
yeah,
I think that's probably more because he thinks it would be better for business. Because then he could, if he has that public persona that's so pristine, then he can do things behind the shadows with much, much less scrutiny.
well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Because
Hmm.
again, it's not like because we see all the protesters out front when he makes his statement. There are a lot
Right.
of
There
people.
wouldn't be any protesters if they saw him in a good light. If he can create that public image, then he can do the bad things without anybody batting an eye or
Yeah,
bothering to look.
but the point is that trying to create that public image, I don't think it's going to work for him. I mean, I guess that's my
Hmm.
point. It's like if he was really
Hmm.
thinking this through, he would understand that he is never going to have that public image. His public image, it's like this. No one is sitting there saying, well, actually, I mean, there are people who say, oh, Richard Nixon, he was a good guy, Anything about Richard Nixon
Hmm.
is always going to have the quality of the Watergate hearings,
Right.
which honestly we know less about than most scandals because he never really was tried or convicted on the subject, but we make these assumptions about it. And the fact of the matter is that everyone knows who Richard Nixon was. Everyone knows what Richard Nixon did. And no one is sitting here going, oh, well, gee, no one's forgetting about Richard Nixon. No one's going to forget about Kingpin. And we see that, again with the detective when he says, hey, look, I know Wilson Fisk put a lot of my brothers and sisters in the ground. You know, anything you can do to hurt this guy, that's fine by me. And he's never going to get out from under that. And I think that hurts him. And again, the thing that I think is one of the most fascinating qualities of this is when he actually goes to negotiate personally for the art
Hmm.
and decides that, Vanessa would want her to keep it.
Yeah.
And I love her response to that, which is like, should that mean anything to me? And his statement was, no, it should not, but it does mean something to me.
Yeah, because if it didn't mean anything to me, you'd be
Well,
dead. But I'm
exactly.
choosing to let you live.
Yeah, and of course, it's one of these things where it is as much true as it is, um, it is factual as it is irrelevant.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, yes, but she knows that going in. She knows this is a man who could simply be like the last people who stole it. Could be the
Yeah.
person who kills her and takes the painting, but you know what? Dang it. I'm an old lady, and if you want to accelerate my death so you can steal my dang painting, okay.
You're gonna have to do
Yeah,
it.
exactly. You're gonna have to do it. You're not gonna intimidate me because like, oh, what, you're
Yeah.
gonna kill me after all of my family's been killed, you know? And then he takes this stance, and then we'll see how that all plays out in later episodes. But I think that at the end of the day, I think that there is this quality of Wilson where he really wants to be something other than he is. He still wants that. He wants to be seen as a hero. And I don't think he's ever going to be. And I think that is his own tragedy. And it is because I think at the end of the day, he refuses to accept the idea that, there is. I think what it is that he refuses to accept that there is an idea of morality. Because that is the real truth of it. When you say you are wicked, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are evil. I get into this debate a lot with people. They often say that the Joker is lawful evil, not chaotic evil. And everyone says, no, he's very chaotic evil. I say, no, he's not. He has a set of rules that he follows expressly. He has a moral compass. It is a skewed moral compass, and he goes in reaction to it. But he takes no action that is not in furthering of his moral identity. A chaotic evil person simply does something for pleasure or for joy with no concern of its outcome. Whereas the Joker is actively seeking to do evil. And for Wilson Fisk, I think, again, it is this idea that he has a moral compass. And honestly, again, he is someone who would see himself as lawful good because he has his moral compass and he works within his moral compass to do the most good.
Yeah, but okay. I mean, I could see that, but if I see that, then I also see in him the ability to separate societies into two things, where you can exist in one and have a different set of moral responsibilities and moral obligations. But if you exist in this other world, I think he's able to see those two things differently. And in Vanessa, he sees someone like the royals saying, hey, I'm going to marry this poor peasant girl and bring her into this world or whatever. Oh, but she's still got some, quaint, mannerisms and cultural things about her old world or whatever, and he's looking to honor those. But if there is, I guess what I'm trying to say is that he does understand that these people see the world differently, but he sees the world differently, and to him, his moral code is separate from that moral code.
Yes, but
I think he does see that delineation.
But again, when you make it a moral code, it becomes about the lawfulness of that morals. Essentially, when you say that there are two different moral codes for two different classes of people, that's still lawful good. I mean obviously,
right.
I mean, not for nothing. Arguably, and this is going to be very controversial. The guys that chased down runaway slaves. If you were doing a 1860s campaign, that ranger chasing down runaway slaves, he's lawful good because the law says that's what he has to do.
Right.
And that's messed up. I mean, it's just messed up by all moral, on an objective moral quality. And basically, that lawful qualities are not necessarily moral. They are simply lawful. If there is a universal morality. And I think that's what Sister Maggie gets to when she asks Nadim, are you a moral person? Because if you are a moral person, you immediately know that you are not a moral person. It doesn't matter that you're following the law. It doesn't matter that you're following a moral compass. It doesn't matter that you're doing the most good for those important to you. You know right from wrong. And she is making Nadim say, am I doing right or wrong?
Right.
And when he goes, and man, I love that scene with him and his wife and his son.
Mm.
And he's like totally putting a good face on it. You guys are going to go someplace fun like Disneyland. His wife's like, yes, we are. That sounds great, honey.
There's a great moment between the two of them right there, like the silent communication, like, yo, I need you right now to just go with this. I need you to trust me. And she's like, let's go. I understand it's a tough situation. Tactically, obviously, certain things needs to be accomplished. Let me know what it is. And when we have a moment, we'll figure out the rest. But we need to go. Let's go. I love how on board she was right off the bat. No, whatever. It's like, oh, this is a life or death situation. I'm on board. Let's get this done.
Well,
I thought that was pretty cool.
You know, she did marry an FBI agent, so she.
That's just true.
You know,
Yeah.
She knows. Yeah. She knows the story. You know, and
Yeah.
I love that how they played that out. And then when Daredevil basically comes and saves him, and again, like I love how I always love how quickly people can transit places, even in our modern world. It's like, no, we can get
Right.
there, no problem.
Right.
And never really like Daredevil can get there,
no.
even.
Right. In the last episode, he got there almost in the nick of time. The priest would have survived if he got there actually in the nick of time. But in here, he saves Nadim's family just in the nick of time.
But like I said, what's interesting about that is like it's not like Daredevil can drive.
Right. It's just hardcore parkour.
Yeah. But once you get trees, parkour is a lot harder.
It's true.
Every time Spider-Man goes to Long Island, they make that joke. That is very hard for him to get around in Long Island because it's just not the buildings,
That's funny.
Yeah. Anyway, even Coney Island, you can at least swing off the Ferris wheel. But But yeah, so that is. I mean, and that's how this episode ends. Is Fisk is going to let the lady keep the painting, as far as we know, and Matt is going to make the deal with Nadim. I love when he says, we need someone with nothing to lose, and Matt says, no, we need someone with everything to lose. We need someone for whom it's going to be a better play for them to turn on Fisk even now, because there's no profit in them staying as a cuckold to Fisk. So, and that is where we end this. I'm looking forward to
Also worthy of pointing out is Nadim isn't completely convinced that he should be forgiven either.
Yeah.
And Daredevil has to say, hey, you saved Karen's life, so I understand that you would think that I should kill you, but we need you for more than just my vengeful,
Which, and again, it shows growth for Daredevil.
This is true.
And not for nothing, this is about everyone coming to understand that Foggy was always right. If you want a tagline for all of Daredevil, it is that Foggy is usually right. That everyone should just accept that Foggy is right, because Foggy, as he says, look, there is no one above the law. The law is the one thing that can be above people. And yes, you can say, oh, he's rich and he's powerful and he's all these things. And yes, rich and powerful people will get off sometimes, but, the only thing that could hold them accountable, because being a rich and powerful guy, it's not like a vigilante has any more power over a rich and powerful guy who can hire his own vigilantes, like Poindexter.
Right.
It's not like that's going to give you power over him any more than the law will. And if the law is applied properly, and not for nothing, because there are so many people he has to pay off, it ceases to become profitable. This is the whole point of the NYPD. It's like he can't buy off the entire NYPD. And because it is a disjointed organization of small fiefdoms, no offense, but that's actually a strength in this point. It's like he could own Midtown, but where he might commit most of his crimes, but he wanders downtown, then all of a sudden his money isn't as good there. You know, and that's kind of the point. It's like if he finds himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, suddenly there is a lot of trouble. And because there are so many people he would have to kill in that moment, you know, when we always say, you know, have we tried killing them yet? That's usually when we're talking about one person. When it's the
Right.
entire freaking, I think it's like one of the, I think the NYPD is like technically like the fifth largest army in the world.
Wow.
It's a huge organization.
Wow.
Well, there's a lot of people here. I mean, you have
Yeah,
to know that
this
New
is
York
true. I
City
mean,
is larger than most countries.
no, it's true. Even without the other boroughs, Brooklyn alone, if it was counted as a city, would be the third largest city in the country.
Exactly, I know. It's New York City is crazy, you know. And
Hmm.
then you get all the other cities all around New York City, and it's like, you know,
Yeah,
um,
it's a happening place, man.
yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I live in Newark, which is 500,000 people, which is like a huge city
It is
anywhere else in the
indeed.
world. But because we're right next to New York, so well, we're just Newark. We're like a third borough, you know, or fifth borough, or whatever you want to call us. But you know, it's actually a huge city, but you know, because we're next door, no one notices. But that's okay. We don't mind it. We're happy to be the underdogs. We're just happy to be on the team here in Newark.
Hey, sometimes it's nice being in the shade.
Yes, absolutely. But no, but it is just that fact that that's not something that even a guy like Wilson Fisk could really buy or control. He has
Hmm.
built his system on the idea of there being a centralized power base that he can manipulate. But once
Yeah.
that power base gets more diffused, which it does, inevitably, his power wanes.
Right.
And that's how we're going to wind up this season.
Yeah, it's almost like the Pablo Escobar story, consolidating all the fractured cartels into one giant cartel.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to end as well as it did for Pablo Escobar.
No. Well, not that it ended. Well, I mean, he had a good run, I
He had a
guess.
good run, yeah, yeah. But it's like, you know, I think Kingpin gets like about a month to Pablo
Hmm.
Escobar several years in his.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then again, Pablo Escobar, I don't think was being petty about it.
That's true.
You know, that's the thing. Is like, you know, if Wilson Fisk wasn't being petty about things, he probably could
Hmm.
have sat in that penthouse and said, "I'm fine." He
Yeah.
could run his corrupt organization, but because he has to go out after people,
Hmm.
that's what Kingpin's undoing is that he has to give trouble to poor old. You know, if you watch the Orville, I don't know if you've watched the Orville, but they
I have not.
oh, it's a good show. You should definitely watch it. But there's a whole thing. Basically, they had their Borg characters in there. One of the characters is like, you know, I'm going to kill this red shirt to make the captain obey me. And he says, and one of the other person who's trying to argue against it says to him, look, if you kill that person, it's just going to make them more want to resist you. You know,
Hmm.
you're underestimating how much these beings dislike, you know, being controlled. And so when you say, oh, and that's the thing is like because Wilson is being petty, had he not tied up the Nelsons in his whole Machiavellian schemes,
Hmm.
I mean, Foggy would have certainly created a lot of noise, but he probably wasn't going to defeat Blake Tower. But
Right.
because now he's decided to make this whole personal thing and to get fingerprints on stuff, now it actually has put Foggy in a position where he does want to fight back, and they're going to use all the things in their power to fight back. So we'll see how that all plays
Right.
out for them. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode, Mozz?
No, I think we covered all of it.
They covered a lot, you know.
Yeah.
It has been an amazing run, this Daredevil. I think it gets equally good as we wind it up. And I look forward to talking to you the last 2 episodes ever of The Devil You Know. Maz, in the meantime, if you would like to talk about these last few episodes, how can they reach you?
Or they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, you can always write to me the old-fashioned email way, as our mothers and fathers once did. Although, to be fair, our Mozzes have used emails in the past as well. Um, and our pauses probably have as well. At superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at the gmails.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitters at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsselCR. Look for the two E's in the middle
Bing!
for quality. Thank you for joining us once again, ladies and gentlemen, here in the kitchen. As you walk down those dark and abandoned streets, and you see a devil on your left shoulder and another devil on your right, just stick with the devil you know. Good night.